Welcome back to the Krāv Show. We've got another episode. Today we're here with me, JRuss, and we have a very special guest that we are really excited about, the one and only Pete Allum. Pete, how are you doing?
I'm really good. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm really happy to be chatting to you guys because it means the course is coming out soon.
That's right. And that is one of the things that I am super excited about. Pete is our newest instructor for the Krāv platform, and this course has been in post production for I don't even want to say how long because I'm embarrassed. It's been so so long. Um, and Pete, you've been so awesome just trying to help us get together B-roll content and going through footage and photos and all sorts of stuff. But we're just excited to have you on the show. JRuss, you
I was just wondering, was there something special about Pete's course, or is that just the way things worked out? Or why was post production longer?
there was part of the reason was other courses that were before it. We ended up recording like three different courses kind of like back to back,
Mm,
and then before we actually started post production, so that kind of backed up our post production process because the same team, the same crew that does the recording also does most of the editing and post production. So that just put Josh's workload, just gave him this huge workload. That was
gotcha.
part of it. And then there were some other delays that came about, some personal different stuff for different people on the team, and so just a myriad of reasons. But that was kind of the biggest one, is we just had it all piled up on top of Josh. Poor guy, he's been so awesome about it.
I think one of the courses was Jason's, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, his is the one that caused
Yeah,
that. No, I'm just kidding.
sure it was.
No, what? Well, okay. So, Pete, would you or
Mm.
JRuss, if you want to, do you want to give any kind of introduction to Pete, or should we just throw
No,
throw him
Pete's
out
doing
there
his
and
own
make?
introduction.
Okay,
I don't
Pete.
know everything to say.
A lot of our listeners, what it seems like, are a little bit newer to skydiving. But actually, we do have quite a few listeners that have been skydiving for a long time, but there are some listeners probably that don't know who you are and probably don't know anything about you. So, um, what would you like for the skydiving community to know about Pete Allum?
Well, actually, what I'd like them to know right now is that I put a lot of effort into the course that I just put together for Krāv, and it's for the new skydivers, a lot of them. I mean, I think there's stuff for everyone in the course. I know you did ask me to introduce myself, but I'm going to start off talking a little bit about the course as well, because it doesn't matter how long I've been skydiving, and I have been skydiving for a really long time. I feel like I've still got a lot to offer the newer jumpers coming up through the sport. And if you if you want me in a nutshell, it's someone who's really active with teaching. I just spent the day canopy coaching on the drop zone, and I'm really enjoying giving back a lot of the information I spent the last 45 years gathering together. So there you go. That's the beginning of my introduction. I've been jumping since 1979. I've actually been on the drop zone way longer than that. My mum and dad dragged me onto the drop zone, kicking and screaming, and then I never left. I had kids that, I had one daughter that skydives quite a lot, and I've worked in the sport, a lot of different jobs, from cleaning toilets to packing parachutes to coaching national teams to currently I am a Flight One canopy coach, and I still do a fair amount of formation skydiving coaching. I was a competitor, actually, I still am a competitor. I'm still doing four-way FS, and was a canopy piloting competitor for just over 10 years as well. And I won FAI medals in both of those events. But I'm also, yeah, I'm a real nerd with this sport. Like all three of us sitting here on this show, I just think we love the details. We love getting into it. I'm really enjoying trying to find a way for the sport to work to move to the future as well. I've been researching a lot about alternative, more sustainable options for drop zones. All different elements of the drop zone, but the aircraft seems to be the big one right now. So yeah, and I'm still skydiving as much as I can. I love to jump. I started wingsuiting a couple of years ago. Did a little bit of free flying. love flocking. I mean, I was just in Norway a couple of weeks ago with 4 friends, and we were working on some dynamic lines, trying to steal from the four-way dynamic routines and put them into the air with our canopies and our mutant harnesses. And that the mutant harness is a way to fly the canopy using your body. So the canopy stays super rigid, and then by using weight shift and body drag, you can actually kind of free fly the wing to where you want it to go, keeping the speed high and the efficiency of the wing high. So I spend a lot of my time developing the Mutant with UPT, working with the engineers there that are doing an amazing job, and also going through the part of the application process for that. So anyone who wants to fly a Mutant, they have to come through me first, and then I hook them up with a local ambassador when their rig's ready. I'd say the Mutant side of stuff is about 50% of my year, on top of all the other little things I'm doing. And I'm a dad and a husband.
Real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What did you say?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple things. If you would just in a nutshell, can you describe how the Mutant harness works? Because I think it's super interesting and super cool. And I think that would be fun for some of our listeners to kind of hear. That is a very innovative thing. I don't know when it first came out, 4 or 5 years ago. Has it been that long?
No, I'm going to go through the history because it's such an awesome history.
Okay.
Vincent Reffert, who some of your younger skydivers will not have heard of, he was one of the soul flyers. Him and Fred were also the jetmen. They should have seen something to do with jetman if they've been on the planet alive over the last couple of years. Vince was a true kind of innovator in our sport. Him and Fred, about 14, 15 years ago, started speed flying in France. And when they were there, they met a guy called Antoine Montant, who was an early acro flyer, paragliding acro flyer. And he said, well, how come you guys, I won't do the French accent, don't worry. He said, how come you guys are, you're skydiving in these crazy harnesses where you're hung from the shoulders, so you can't really use weight shift effectively, and you certainly can't use body drag like we do with paragliders and speed fly canopies. And so Fred and Vince started speed flying and realized they'd been missing out for all these years. They've been flying their canopies like trussed up with a straitjacket on, and it became Vince's objective to build a harness that could be free fall out of an aircraft, opened up, and then transitioned into a paragliding harness. So for those of you that haven't seen paragliders, the attachment point, instead of being at the shoulders, is down at the hips, and that just really livens up the controls. It's like putting sport mode into any canopy that you put in the harness. And Vince, along with UPT, spent 10 years getting that ready to go. So it's been about 14 years in the works. The first one he built with his dad in his garage. Then he moved to UPT, and they worked on it together. He got Ian Bobo involved as one of the first competitors to showcase the rig. And he asked myself and Ian to put together a training program so that we could train people to use his new piece of equipment that UPT was ready to launch. And that was my introduction to it. Vince just threw his rig at me, said, jump that, tell me what you think. And it's really just kind of taken over, as I said, 50% of what I do through the year now is developing that and trying to make it safer and better.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I don't know if you said it a minute ago, how many jumps do you have now?
I didn't. I have coming up to 37,000, so 36,500 something.
Okay, that's awesome.
I'm slowing down. I'm ready. I am slowing down. How about you, Jason? You still jumping a bunch?
Still quite a bit, yeah. At least 1,000 a year.
Nice.
Yeah. It's going to take me a while to catch you.
I am slowing down, so I'm opening the door for you, man.
So I had a couple questions because a lot of, like Chris said, a lot of our listeners are newer. So what do you think of as the criteria for somebody wanting or being ready to jump a Mutant? How do people know if they're ready to even ask you for that?
Yeah. If they're a canopy piloting competitor and they've seen the results at the World Championships, they're going to want a Mutant, because you look at the podium at a CP competition and everyone is wearing Mutants. The rig, it goes faster, it's more sensitive, it's the right piece of equipment. So that's a small group of people, a very tiny group of people on the planet. However, we're seeing more and more different types of people using it. So the criteria right now would be, ideally, it's a canopy piloting competitor and someone who already has recumbent experience. So they've already flown a speed fly wing, or they've already flown a paraglider. That's the ideal. Like, that's almost a no-brainer for a positive response to an application. However, if someone has done some paragliding, some speed flying, they're flying a high-performance wing, they're not necessarily a competitor, that's also a good route. It may be, we've had one very recently, paraplegic skydivers who have found the Mutant to be incredibly useful for them, because they can land in a position where their legs can be off the ground. Actually, we have three right now, three of them. And so, yeah, it's actually growing beyond its initial concept.
How prolific, like when you kind of envision the future, how prolific do you think that harness will be in the skydiving community?
Well, in its current iteration, it's a little complex. It's still, I mean, it's great, but it's not for everyone. The people with less jumps that learn to use it require more time, because it's an adjustment in emergency procedures. It's more high risk. The problems on opening are greater. There's a huge payoff with performance, of course, but we've made it as safe as we can with the current iteration, and we're currently working on some steps that I believe are going to open it up to more people, to more users. It's always been the goal, right from when I joined the project, is to make the rig look more like a normal skydiving rig and to function more like a normal skydiving rig. I'm currently jumping a prototype. I've done hundreds and hundreds of jumps on it, and people don't even know I'm jumping a Mutant. It's awesome. And it's it's in free fall. It feels great, just like a regular rig on opening, and then it transitions into the Mutant. And we're hoping, if things go well, that we can bring that into production at some point. There's no timeline on it yet. Those of you waiting for version 2, there's really no timeline. We've still got to do a bunch more work on it to make it ready. But I'm hoping that it becomes more available. Yeah.
Pete, in your experience, I've only done a little bit of speed riding, so that's, I mean, a few weeks in Val for Juice in France to
which is where Vince and Fred learned.
Yeah. There. But it's definitely different. I don't know what I had in number of jumps when I went there, 14, 15,000, something like that. And, you know, the harness is definitely different, being attached at a different point. But when you were talking, it brought to mind some, like, if you remember, Roger Nelson, Rook's dad, was putting students onto stilettos when they finished AFF, because that was what they were going to be jumping. And sometimes during it's different programs called AFP. But if this is better, is there a reason that it wouldn't be the standard in the future?
Great question. Right now, so using foresight, I'd like to think it was way more open, but yeah, it's a complex one. I do think it's going to be more available, but I don't know if it will fully replace everything, because the added complexity of releasing to a different position. I mean, what I'm thinking now is an AFS student. You know, I'm taking it to that next logical step, is why don't we put AFS students on it? Now, I mean, just thinking out loud here, what if we were winch launching our students before they went in the air, before they started skydiving? So instead of their first experience on the canopy being a ground launch on a winch or some hill launching, that might change it. So if we change their training, that might open the door. I mean, the ideal is they winch launch, they go to the tunnel, and then they make their first skydive. So they've done all the different elements, and they're just putting it with that kind of psychological first step through the door then. So that might open it up.
Yeah,
nice.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And then with, I mean, who knows what's in the mix, but with AI and what do you call it, VR and stuff. I mean, maybe they can even at some point practice malfunctions and stuff before they, who knows?
Oh, that's coming. That's actually,
Yeah.
I've used some of that stuff. It's pretty out there.
Really?
I pretty soon, yeah. All of that
Yeah,
stuff is going to, I
I
think
think
we
that'd
can
be
really
so.
prepare people well for their experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well, hey, real quick, I want to go back to your course coming up.
Mm.
Uh, 2 weeks ago, I was out at my home drop zone, and I was talking with another skydiver. He's been jumping for quite a while. He's a very accomplished canopy pilot. He does a lot of coaching and instructing at our drop zone with canopy stuff. And we were talking, and then somehow Krāv, we're talking about Krāv, and I said something about your course. We're about to release another course. And he goes, "Oh, well, who is it?" And when I said that it was you, that it was Pete Allum, he turned and he looked at me and goes, "Dude, that actually will make me want to buy a subscription." He goes, I
Yeah.
haven't really been excited about it. I haven't wanted a subscription, but if you're going to have a course from Pete Allum, he goes, "Okay, I'm getting a subscription. I want to see that course." And this is he's an experienced, he's a good skydiver, great candidate. So he's actually flying a Mutant actually.
Mm.
And a really neat guy, but he's also a very humble guy. And I think that's so awesome because I see him, he's knowledgeable, he's accomplished, he's skilled, he's been around for a long time, but yet he still wants to learn. And when he heard your name, for him, that was like, okay, I want to learn from Pete.
Nice.
I thought that was really, really cool, and just an honor to you, I think, too.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I'm super grateful for a response like that, and hope to be able to deliver. And yeah, I mean, I'd like to think there's something in there for everyone. I do think the newest flyers will get a huge amount out of it, but yeah, I don't know if do you want to go into the weeds of what's in the course?
Sure, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think people would be interested. No, I hope.
Yeah, I mean, when yourself and Sharon asked me if I would do something like this, I had a bunch of easy options, but it's never been my route. So I thought I'd try and tackle the biggest possible thing I could find, and it was everything, really everything. The whole organism of skydiving, from before you even get to the drop zone, like having everything ready, having your brain ready, having your body ready, having your documents ready, and then when you get to the drop zone, what all the different elements are all about, like the back office, the riggers, the packers, and then kind of diving a little bit more into the details of preparation when you're on the drop zone, visualization, and understanding a little bit more about how the brain works in these high stress situations. Looking at bias, something that we all suffer from. And then I threw a lot of, like Jason had spent a lot of time competing. And when you compete, you're trying to examine everything about how you can improve your own performance and your performance in the group. And I wanted to share some of that as well, because I think whether it's your first jump or your first national championships, there's something that you can learn from the preparation that we've gone through thousands of times in preparation for training jumps and competition. And yeah, so then I looked a little bit at different training options, dove into the history of the sport, kind of took it right back to Leslie Irving's first testing of the round parachutes for the US Army. Where do we go from there?
You
Help
talk a
me
little
out
bit
a little
about
bit,
gear.
please. Yeah, so that's right. We look into gear, how to maintain it, how to check it, what kind of gear you can buy when you first start jumping, a little bit about how to store it. Really try to encapsulate as much as possible and introduce the concept of us all being an important part of the drop zone. Whether it's your first time on the drop zone, whether you're a packer, whether you're a rigger, a pilot, we've each got a part to play so that we can be safe together on the drop zone. And that was kind of the overarching theme of it, was the organism. But when you get on the drop zone, you're kind of you're signing a contract, because what you do has a direct effect on everyone else there. And so you're just as responsible as your instructor, as your coach, as the pilot. to fulfill your, you know, your role, if you like. So I was
Yeah,
trying to
and
kind of describe that role. Yeah.
yeah, when you kind of go, like you said, you go into the organism of a drop, like the drop zone being an organism. And I thought it was cool that you kind of broke it down, you know, manifest and the office. And then you talked about instructors and coaches, packers and riggers, pilots, ground crew, and then even kind of got into clubs, federations, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
just really giving well, yeah, just giving a overall view, but with detail about what does it mean to be a part of this community and to
Yeah.
be in it in a way that benefits yourself and benefits everybody else. Like, how do we all work together to make this skydiving life that we enjoy really, really good and wholesome and safe, and also in a way that we can continue to progress and learn and grow. And I think it's a great course.
It was really challenging to put together, but then really fun. Yeah. And I have to say, filming with you guys was an incredible experience. I don't know, Jason, how you felt about it, but it just made it so easy. Just felt really professional, but relaxed as well. I love the whole kind of Krāv vibe. Yeah, with
That's
Josh
awesome. Well, thank
and
you.
Whit as well. It was super nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Whit was, I forgot
Yeah.
that. Yeah, Whit's super fun. That's really cool.
Mm.
You said something. Sorry, JRuss, were you going to say something?
I mean, I've got a few questions whenever they fit in, but nothing.
Yeah, no, go for it. Because Pete said something, but now I forgot what I was going to say. So please.
Pete, just listening to some of the things you said about how you got started in the sport with your parents dragging you there, and it's been 40 plus years of that. What was your progression like at being at the drop zone? And am I right that you started before you were 18, maybe 14 or something like that?
15, yeah. So
15.
first jump was at 15, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And were you packing before that? And what was that process like for you?
Yeah, the drop zone was a playground. So mom and dad would just drop me off at the beginning of the weekend, and I wouldn't see them until it was time to head back on a Sunday night. Because they were kind of they were really into the social side of it as well. So, yeah, I would help with the training of students. It was all static line round students at the time. So we'd help gear them up. We'd help train them for parachute landing rolls. You know, they'd have this 11-year-old teaching them how to do PLFs. And then packing from an early age. That was a great way to earn pocket money for sure.
Do you remember what were you getting paid to pack a parachute at that time?
I think I was getting like food in the drop zone canteen and somewhere to stay.
There you go.
But it was just round parachutes to begin with. I mean, my first 200 jumps were on a round canopy, and as soon as I could, I used my mum's Paracommander, and then bought my own rig for $220. Would have been about $220 for a complete rig.
I mean, there's just so many young people who are not going to understand that a Paracommander is a step up and why that's funny.
Yeah, I felt pretty hot on that. I thought I'd
wait. So what shape was the Paracommander?
But if you've ever been to a coastline where they're doing the parasailing, you know, where they get towed up behind a boat, that's a Paracommander. It looks like it's full of holes.
So it's round, but it's controllable.
Yeah, it's pretty controllable.
Is that should it be in quotes controllable?
Controllable, exactly.
More than around.
Well, I think it was because Pete, do you know Larry Henderson? I don't know if you know Larry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. He has told me a story before, and I think it was a Paracommander whenever he got, I think it was that canopy. He told his wife, he said, "Pam, I'm never going to have to get another canopy again. This is this is it. I think
I've
that's
arrived. I've arrived.
It's here.
Yeah.
I'll never need another canopy." I don't remember if it was that one, but it was something around that era, you know, where it was a big advancement in technology. And yeah.
And Peter, like when did you think that you were going to start competing? Like, how did that transition happen? Because you got to be competing at a real high level in multiple disciplines, and just sort of like, what was your first team like, and how were you as a teammate?
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. even before I started skydiving, I had posters of the Golden Knights and Mirror Image and the Symbiosis, which was a British team, on my wall as a kid. So I just knew I was going to be national champion. I did. I really did know. And then hanging around the drop zone with a group of friends. There was one American, one Dutch guy, and an English guy. And we just really enjoyed our time together. They kind of mentored me a little bit. I was the young kid, and we did our first four-way team. And then I got into some instruction for a little while, some static line instruction. I had to earn some money to pay for the jumps then. And then I got a phone call to join the current national team. And I would have been 18 at the time. And yeah, and that was it. I felt like I'd won the lottery. And I think initially as a teammate, I was just high energy, but just kind of getting on with stuff. And then I became a little more high maintenance as I started to get opinions about stuff and learned all the things that you learn about a group environment, and that doesn't matter how much you think you know, it's what the group gets out of the experience and the interaction between everyone. And then I realized it was less about the skills in free fall, although that was always important, and more about your ability for group harmony, really, and to work on the goals together. I'm still learning how to be in a group, but I love team environments. I think that's one of the reasons why I really like working for Flight One, is that it feels I could teach canopy coaching on my own easily, and I did do for years before I joined Flight One. But I know this is a shameless plug, I know, but I have to say I just really like the team environment, the cadre of instructors that we have there. And I guess, Joe, to answer the question, that's one of the main things I learned about being in teams is how much fun it is and how much greater you can get than just what you can do on your own.
I've got more, Chris, so if you've got questions, you should go.
No, keep
well,
going.
Next one on the list was, over the years, there's been a ton of changes. I mean, we're talking about rounds and paracommanders, and is there something that stands out in your mind as like the biggest change? And then what do you think over the years has been the biggest safety improvement that you've seen?
Well, I think the improvement of coaching and instruction over the years, from early static line to Ken Coleman and ASF and coaching in the various disciplines, that's really helped progress. The wind tunnel has made a massive, massive difference to the freefall side of the sport. Let's see, and so safety side, I mean, the instruction and even the wind tunnel in that as well, for sure. The improvement in equipment, I think it feels like it's an ongoing process. Like if I look now at how USBA disseminates its information on incidents and safety, everyone's instead of trying to hide incidents, we're now starting to realize that we have to share our experiences and anonymous reporting of incidents. So we've got more data sets, so we can actually figure out what's going on. We don't tend to wait for a fatality to make changes. We look at the theme of the incidents and we start to make changes, whether it's at an equipment level or a training level. So yeah, I feel it's an ongoing process. Single things, like I said, the coaching, the instructing, the wind tunnel, the responsibility that the associations are taking for disseminating that information. Recently, like in the UK, we recently joined something called CHIRP, which is a human factors reporting system program, and it's where people can anonymously report things that happen on the drop zone, non-incidents, if you like, that they don't feel were covered. And it's great to see that moving around to various associations.
What advice or what can you tell people, like, because you've been in the sport for so long and you said you really do enjoy coaching and instructing and teaching, right? And those things are all connected, but each one of them is a little bit different, being a good coach, being a good instructor, being a good teacher, but there's overlap too. What do you think makes a good coach or a good instructor, a good teacher How can, and one thing I think is fun to see in the skydiving community is that there is this atmosphere of like, like everybody wants to see everybody improve. It seems like to me, for the most part, like we're excited to see our friends get better because that means we get to do more with them or whatever, you know. But sometimes I think, you know, for myself, I'm overzealous to coach or to give feedback or instruct. So how can I be a better coach? How can I be a better teacher, instructor?
Obviously, really get to know your discipline at the deepest level, become a complete nerd about it, study it, read about it, get coaching yourself as much as possible. For me, I like to show up with the attitude that it's not about me. It really is about my student. And I'm not, when I teach, it's not the Pete Allum show, it's the Jason Russell show. If I'm working with Jason, you know, it's like, I'm here to help you. And so what is it that I need to do? And it may mean that I have to say more or less, you know, and I have to think about your learning, the way you learn, the modalities that you use to learn. So yeah, human behavior, you know, studying that, learning to read nonverbal communication as well. You know, if you're teaching someone and their eyebrows are up, maybe you've overloaded them with information. Kind of figuring out how each person learns. Again, an ongoing process, and yeah, starting with a really clear idea of what it is that you're trying to teach, but then getting over the fact that it's you teaching it, and it's more about what that person can learn and how you can help them learn. You're basically their servant, you know, to use a pretty rough term, if you like. I'm enjoying learning more about teaching through the years as well. I hope I never stop diving into how to be a better teacher. Yeah, I like that feeling of you got a new group of people in front of you, and I'm a little nervous. It's like I'm excited to do a good job, and there's going to be people who have come from all different walks of life. Some are going to be aircraft mechanics, some are going to be students. You know, they're just going to come from everywhere, and we're all united by this wonderful activity that we do. And I actually get paid to teach them that day as well, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's cool. Are there any stories or memories that come to mind of just really like big wins in coaching and teaching?
Oof. Yeah, many. I mean, just because, especially with canopy teaching, like people are still so scared of flying their parachutes. And you know, just this week, I had, you know, a student who really, you could see that they just did not enjoy the canopy ride at all, and they'd been told to come on a canopy course because it might help them. But then just through the day, just seeing that person having the steps broken down and understanding the physics of what they were doing, and being in an environment that you know was no pressure. It was all about learning, and everyone was laughing with each other and watching, and just seeing that person do their first stand up and just like, yes, they just claimed it so hugely. Like they maybe stood up once in their last 20 jumps, and yeah, I could hear them. I can hear the shout across the drop zone as they did it as well. Still, so yeah, that was a very recent win.
That's cool.
PDC in the area is either, I guess, local to you or worldwide, where there's a glaring spot that we need to address. Anything like we're not putting enough effort or time or energy into whatever this thing is.
I still think we struggle with inclusivity in our sport. I still think, I mean, look, there's three old white guys here, you know. I think, yeah, we could be a lot more open to and not stereotype people when they turn up on the drop zone. I think that's a huge thing. Yeah, but for all the family environment that we have on the drop zone, and for, you know, that great feeling we were talking about at the beginning, I still feel obviously egos are a big deal. I mean, we wouldn't be on the drop zone if it wasn't for our ego, and it's important to get us to the drop zone and to get us achieving goals. But it can also be the big thing that steps in the way of learning. So yeah, just that's one of the reasons why kind of the topics I talk about in the course, to help try and create a more open learning environment. And then the sustainability side, yeah, I think if we want to keep the sport going, we're going to have to be looking and getting ahead of the game with regards to more sustainable aircraft rides, and just in general, just seeing what some drop zones are doing with regards to getting all their energy from solar or different options. Just getting ahead of the game so we don't get regulated or public pressured out of our sport.
Do you feel like that there are, I mean, if you're talking about a solar powered aircraft taking people to altitude, do you foresee that as being sustainable or realistic? Could an aircraft the size of a Caravan get 10 people to altitude at the same time if it was only solar?
No, sorry, solar I meant by actually running the energy requirements of the drop zone and helping to charge the batteries. But the aircraft itself, that's another whole bag of mine, actually. I started a podcast a couple of years ago, Future Proof Skydiving, and I started researching all the various options. The current state of affairs, it seems, in sustainable aviation is that a full battery Cessna Caravan, although we thought that was going to be coming soon, is still a long way away to be effective. And so there's a company called Ampere that are turning to a hybrid solution. They have a combustion engine combined with a motor, an electric motor, that will run a flight cycle of about 40 minutes right now. So I think within the next year, providing the type conversion goes through, the supplemental type conversion goes through, you will be seeing a hybrid Caravan. You could use that within the skydiving operation. It will take a little longer in the first phase, but as batteries become lighter, energy density improves, there'll be less of the combustion, more of the battery. So within a few years, I think a full battery option. There are hydrogen projects going down the line right now as well, but there's still some issues with that. And hydrogen isn't the greenest of things to create at the moment too. I have one contact, a French guy who lives just over the border, and he's working on compressed natural gas motor. So he's got a Rotax right now, and he's bench testing it with CNG. And so his goal is to fly an ultralight on CNG, compressed natural gas, which is basically agricultural waste, methane. You put all your agricultural waste in a big vacuum, and you cook it up, and what comes out of it is fuel. And so there's loads of different options out there. I think we just need to keep exploring them. And so no, a solar-powered aircraft, Jason, it has been jumped, but it was a two-seater. And a Swiss guy called Raphael, Solar Stratus Project, he built this aircraft that flew, I don't know if that one flew around the planet, but he built one that did fly around the planet on solar power, or he was involved in that project. But this one he jumped from is a solar-powered aircraft. Literally, that is the only source of power, but it's not your Cessna Caravan. It's going to take you and the pilot up to altitude. So, but it's a start.
So in the research that you've done in that field for the fully electric plane, is it the battery weight that is the biggest obstacle at this point?
Yeah, and the cycle time. So right now from one charge, you're going to get about 30-40 minutes max. And with the reserve that everyone has to fly with, that's one load.
Are they able to do similar to regenerative braking? Could they do that with the prop? You couldn't do that though, could you? Can you?
No, you can. Yeah, that is part of their process. They are looking into it. Some companies are putting more effort into it than not, but it is one of the things that they have said is part of. Yeah, it is part of it, and so that will be on the descent.
Yeah.
And do you foresee? I mean, if that does become something that's a little more manageable, that it would be like a fuel cell that you would have. I don't know, however long it takes to recharge the cell, that you would have 5 or 6 cells waiting for the plane to come down, and you extract one and plug in the other one, and the plane can cycle again.
For us, that works really well. And every skydiver that I've spoken to seems to think that that's the best way around it. The aircraft manufacturers are like, yeah, we thought of that, but it doesn't really work for your average commercial operation. And they'd rather land somewhere, charge up while the aircraft is unloading and then loading again, and taking its 30 minutes, 40 minutes in between to charge and then go off. Otherwise, you've got to have batteries at all these various spots around. Now, one of the reasons why I started researching it is that I thought that as skydiving, we were the perfect test case because all of our operation is in one place. So you could have the infrastructure on a drop zone and you could check everything out. And this is kind of what I've been trying to sell to these manufacturers and these engineers is please use us as a bit of a test case, if you want to see if it can work. But yes, Jason, it's a great idea for us. The cassette idea. You can imagine the caravan, right, with that cargo bay underneath, being full of the battery, and then you show up to the refueling point and switch one set of batteries out for another.
Well, and
I certainly mention it.
Safety-wise, I mean, you'd be able to. You wouldn't have to do hot fuels anymore. I mean, you just turn off. You just stop spinning the motor. It just stops.
Stop that quiet motor. Boom, stop. Go again. Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, the safety right there of just not having spinning props is awesome.
Yeah, and the noise, the lack of noise as well. And the guys in Norway have been chatting to recently. They're really keen. Norway's pretty far ahead with regards to running electric buses, CNG buses, and they really want to move forward on light aviation, general aviation. And so they're getting grants to develop this more. And with the drop zone in Voss, they're looking to get a small aircraft pretty soon, as soon as they can find someone that will help them convert like a smaller airframe into an all-electric or a hybrid.
So how much with the CNG, do you know a lot? Because I was under the impression that like the power, you can't get as much combustion or power out of natural gas or propane.
The density,
like you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is that correct or not?
I believe that is correct. The energy density, again, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a specialist. I'm just trying to make connections between people. But as far as I understand, the energy density is not the same. So you will need a lot of a large tank. Yeah. And that is the issue. But they have done the maths and they say that it will work for this ultralight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And for those of you interested, Biogas for Life is the with 4, biogas, and then 4 LIFE. They're the people that are doing that. They're looking for help actually with their project if anyone's keen.
Interesting. That's cool.
But I was chatting to an aircraft owner the other day, and he's like, "This is all." He was really keen. Like he said, "I would love to see, all of our aircraft turn to sustainable options." But he said, "The aircraft that we're using right now have been used for many years and thousands of hours, and they're known, they're trusted. To bring something new in, that's going to be tough." And I agreed with him. I said, yes, but I said, well, what are we going to do? We're just going to not do anything about it.
I mean,
we
you
need
got
to
start at some point. Yeah.
You got to start somewhere. Yeah. And an interesting one, I chatted to a guy from England the other day, and he was saying he didn't think it was going to be regulation that was going to get us, but maybe public pressure. That the public would say, hang on a minute, this noisy skydiving operation next to me here, they're running a combustion engine. Not only is it noisy, they're using fuel, they're polluting. We might get more hassle from public rather than the regulators.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I can see that.
Well, we got well off topic there. That was good.
No, that's interesting. I haven't spent any time thinking about that at all. So that's very interesting for me. That's very cool.
Pete, do you ever do any of the FS records anymore? Are you part of that stuff?
I've actually just been asked to join the Total Break 150 that's in Illinois coming up, and I haven't done any of the big records for a while. But I'm really stoked to be back, especially working with Airspeed on that. So yeah.
Cool. My question was going to be, I've talked about this a couple of times just informally, and I wouldn't say I'm in the know, but can the 400 way be broken?
Oh yeah. I mean, as far as can we build something bigger than 400? Yes, the skills are there, but the infrastructure to do it is the challenge, and I think you know that more than me. I mean, getting that number of aircraft together in one place with wars and everything going on, it's going to be a challenge. But for sure, man, let's do it.
Pete, were you a part of the the one in Thailand?
No, I was not. No.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, I've always shied away from the big stuff. I've really just enjoyed moving quickly in whatever I'm doing. And the larger stuff, I didn't do that much of it. But then Dan asked me, he said, look, if we do a 500 weight, would you join us? And I'm like, of course. I mean, who wouldn't do that?
Oh my goodness.
And and every so often I realize what a cool thing it is to get a huge number of people together and achieve something like that together. You know, it's not just the skydiving ability, it's every single element put in those big waves in. You know, all the safety side of it, the pilots, the lot.
See, I would love to see like a full length documentary on that, like process from conceptualization to the final thing, like a good documentary about the whole process. I think would be so fun to watch.
Yeah. As long as we could then actually go up and jump it as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. From beginning to end with the success at the end, man, that would be so great.
I mean, if they made a documentary, it would span years because it's, you know, it's going to take that. The process is so long.
Yeah, I think it'd be so neat to see. I saw on Facebook or somewhere, JRuss, the Max Pyro thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw where all these different people like thought it was an alien invasion or something. Did you see all that stuff? Did you know?
Yeah. Yes,
there was any of that.
A chat about that even during the event because there's a suburb of Phoenix called Santan Valley, and that was the furthest place that someone called the police and said UFOs were landing.
How far away was that from?
I think it's about 60 miles. But it seems goofy, but for regular people, would you know, if you see a flaming thing coming out of the sky and then there's flame, like we were lighting pyro under canopy, so clearly we broke apart from each other, and then there's more fire and we're going all over the place. Like for most people, I don't think the first thought that comes to mind is, 40 people are up there with fireworks on their legs, you know, that like that skydiving at night is not really a thing for most people, you know. So it's funny to us, but it's not that crazy that they might think there's aliens.
Dude, I think if I had been driving down the highway and seen it in the night sky, I wouldn't have thought of skydivers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would have just like, what is that? What kind of like I wouldn't have thought of aliens, I don't think, but I would have thought asteroid or plane.
But imagine that's the thing though, Chris, is that, okay, there's a big comet in the sky and it would catch your attention. It's really dark out here. But when we break off, when that first wave leaves and there's clearly fiery things under control moving away from the center, and then the another center, like that would look like, I mean, weird. I saw Starlink go over and my thoughts immediately like, oh, aliens. Oh no, Starlink. Yeah. But it's, you know, it's still really cool.
It's so cool. Yeah. I love watching what you guys are doing at night. I mean, aren't night jumps the coolest? They're just amazing.
Yeah. And Pete, you weren't around the last time we talked about this, but because I was doing other things during the day and I missed some of the training jumps, they just made me a last diver, which normally last diver is not that glorious of a spot. You just dive for 95% of the jump, and then you maybe touch somebody and then you leave. But when you're diving into 42 people on fire, that wasn't the worst spot that I've ever been in. It was fun.
I bet. Yeah. Nice, man. Very cool. Chris, you done any night jumps?
Only a couple. I think 3 total. Yeah.
And how was your experience? How did you find that? Intense or okay or what?
It was okay. I think the setting and the people I was with, it wasn't. It was just okay. I think with a different group of people, a different setting, I would enjoy it much, much more. Some of it wasn't probably the safest, most well planned, well executed. So, and I was I had just gotten my B license because I wanted to be a part of that night jump that was coming up. So I was like, made sure that I had my jumps, made sure that I did all the stuff, and I was ready to do it. So also I was just a younger, less experienced jumper. So, I think I would like to do some more in a different setting.
Nice. Yeah, very nice.
It'd be fun.
Cool.
Pete, what's next for you as far as competition or teaching, or what do you got coming up the rest of this year?
Well, this week I have a day off tomorrow. I'm going to go paragliding, I think tomorrow morning, a bit of a hike and fly to start the day before the wind picks up. And then at the weekend is the local four-way championships, the Catalan National Championships, which is a bit of a misnomer because we live in Spain, but the Catalans are kind of independent. I guess it's like the Texas thing. And then this year I'm going to do four-way at the Nationals outdoor. I haven't done that since 2018. Found a really nice group with one of my ex-teammates, Julia, and then two people from another team. So we're doing a little bit of training for that. Got some a fun trip back to Norway to do some mountain flying with those friends that I mentioned before. And then a bunch of Flight 1 work. We're doing some flocking in Moab. I went to Moab for the first time last year. What a place. Oh my God. It's magical there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Super nice. So we're going back. We're flocking now. I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah, how about you, Jason? What's up for you this year?
Training also, team training, and we've got a head up record coming up in November. And this year is sort of sprinkled also with head down training events because the head down record will follow the subsequent year. So busy. It's funny to me when he said I've got a day off, and for a lot of people, Saturday, Sunday is off, but I can relate to that. Hey guys, I have a day off.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Although I turned 60 a couple of weeks ago, and I had a good birthday, I have to say. It was pretty relaxed. My wife and I had a beautiful day together.
What outside of skydiving and other air sports, what kind of things do you enjoy, Pete? What are you into?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, well, paragliding is an air sport for sure, but I enjoy the hiking in the hills for that as well. I used to do a bunch of triathlon, but I stopped doing that. My body complained way too much. I really enjoy swimming still, though. We live in an area where from June we can swim every morning in the sea. So my wife and I tend to go out, get a 30-40 minute swim in the morning. I love to surf. We go on surf trips. I was in the Philippines earlier in the year. We get the occasional wave come through here as well. Yeah, don't really get much time for anything else because I'm still so hooked on skydiving, to be honest.
Pete, do you remember when you were in Australia getting a surfboard from Rob?
Yes. Yeah.
He was our guest last week, and
oh, no way.
Yeah, it was just a funny Pete's course is coming out, and Rob, do you know Pete? And not that he's a younger jumper, but he doesn't have a ton of jumps, hasn't done a lot of competition stuff, and he's like, well, as a matter of fact, I do know Pete. It was a funny story.
It was, and I saw him because he was flying, he was paragliding there, he was soaring, and I had to wait for him to land before I could get the surfboard from it as well. Yeah, he lives in a nice part of the world.
So you're right near the Mediterranean. You live right near the water.
A few kilometers away from the water. Yeah.
Do you know anything about the? No, sorry. Go ahead.
The drop zone is about 2 kilometers from the beach, and we have the hills, the Pyrenees, that start just over the other side of the drop zone. It's a pretty special place to be, actually.
Yeah, I bet that's beautiful. I've been really interested for a while in the Camino, the pilgrimage walk.
Yeah, nice.
Have you ever been on any of it, or do you know much about it? Are you familiar?
I know quite a bit about it. I know Craig and Eliana did it quite recently. They did a section of it, and it's not far from us. So, and my wife and I don't think it's something. Well, you never know. Never say never. But it's pretty interesting. Yeah, bit of a journey of self-discovery, I think, as well. Chris, is that what you're thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you remember, I have 4 boys, and so that's something I've been talking with them about for quite a while. And my oldest son, he's 20. He just brought it up again today. He's like, hey, what about not next summer, but the next, like summer of 26? What if let's just plan to do it. Let's go do the Camino.
Do it. Put it on the calendar. Yeah. Enough procrastination. That's really exciting to hear, Chris. Nice.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to be relatively local. Maybe if you don't mind, we could come and join you for a couple of days.
That would be cool. I think that's what it's supposed to be about, is that it's a pilgrimage, self-discovery, growth, and learning, but it's an opportunity to connect with other people, with new people, old people, friends, whatever. Yeah. I think that would be,
Let's do it.
I think that would make it very special. Yeah. Well, okay. So I want to go back to the course, because one of the things with your course, Pete, that I've been struggling with is what to name it, the title of the course. And we've talked about it a little bit. Like I've asked you, I've asked Sharon, like Josh, we've all been brainstorming. I came up with, this is the best I can come up with. And I don't know what you're going to think about it, but I think it should be called, because most of the other courses is like, Jason and Steph teach vertical flying, right? Or Matt, Dan, and Val teach wingsuit foundations, or whatever,
Yeah.
Well, I think what we should call your course is Pete Allum, the guide.
The guide.
Yeah. So it's like, is the course the guide, or is Pete Allum the guide? Both.
I like
They're both the guide.
That's a winner. But I like it, Chris.
Do you like it?
Because everything else is really sucked. So
every other idea you've put out there was terrible.
I like it, man. It's simple. Yeah. And I like the fact that my name's there, but it shifts it away from me, and it's about, the guide. Nice. Like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy type.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. The Skydiver's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, I like it, man.
Okay. Then I guess that's it. It's official. Pete signed off on it, so we're good.
Cool.
All right. Well, JRuss, you got anything else?
Well, I was just going to ask Pete if, he does a lot of teaching. Like, how do people find you if they would like some of your teaching?
Yeah, if it's canopy coaching, then through Flight One, Pete at flight1.com. If it's FS coaching, I don't do a great deal of it, so just get in touch. On Instagram, it's XL Pete, and you can just find me on Facebook. Yeah.
Why is it XL Pete?
My team was XL for the longest time, but you know that.
I know that.
Yeah. Well, I was on a team called XL that was notorious for living life extra large. And we like to excel at certain things as well.
Yeah.
And actually, as a memorial, the guy that actually helped us, that really helped create that, he died recently, Chris Lynch. And he was like a brother to me for a long time. And I had the honor of speaking at his celebration. And I know it's a really sad moment, but man, what an opportunity to reflect back on a journey with someone. And I'm really glad I did.
Cool.
Well, okay. One more question before we wrap up. Is there anything that, if you could tell to young skydiver Pete, or to young skydivers right now? I did say
we were going to get photobombed. Sorry. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would want to tell yourself? If you could go back and talk to 20-year-old skydiver Pete, or those young skydivers out there right now, or is it just everything that you said in the course? Maybe that's what you want everybody to know.
I mean, just be hungry for information and be open to learn. But if you're going to get this course and you are hungry for information, you do want to learn, and be ready to change your mind about stuff as well. I mean, it's something, especially as you get older, it seems like it would be easy to get set in the ways, but keep reminding myself, if you're going to be scientific about this whole process, then just stay open-minded, stay looking to learn.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It's been fun chatting. It's been a nice evening.
Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
You've done it again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to the Krāv show. And Pete, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, guys.
It's a pleasure and an honor. JRuss, thank you. And you guys have a great week. And everybody, get out there, get in an airplane with your friends, jump out, have fun, smile, laugh, have a good time, be safe. Krāv, do more, be better. Thanks, you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.